Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Um, Welcome to the Mayor Shop. Hey, I'm Mike. That is Wendy. What you doing? Anyway, you're in the Mayor Shop, y'all. Again, on this second Monday in June. I guess it's second Monday in June. I don't even know. But it is June, which means in Georgia, basically it's summertime. Forget the calendar, forget what they said and all the solstice and all that. It's summertime. You know, I think in Georgia, officially, when you're like 3 days, 90 degrees plus, you can just call it summer because you ain't going back.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Hey, Lynn Lou and
Hey.
Pastor Shepherd out there in Garland, Texas, and Byron Jackson. Thank you for joining us from YouTube. Yeah, I think you're right. I think 90 days, more than 2 days in a row means you're officially in summer or something else.
And if that doesn't do it, if that doesn't improve it, the humidity most certainly does.
Absolutely,
It's thick
absolutely.
out here, y'all. My hair was like a straight fro this morning.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, cuz. Yeah. So we are in Evans still,
Georgia,
which is a
is.
good thing in Evans, Georgia, and you know it's not too bad. I mean, you know, I have to say, doesn't seem to be as many mosquitoes. Just like I think there wasn't as many. As much pollen, and so I think the hurricane kind of blessed us in that way.
I guess so. More snakes.
I mean, they're
though.
coming. I think, yeah, definitely more snakes.
More snakes. What is going on?
I don't
That's
know.
crazy.
Hey, Latasha King, thanks for coming in from Mississippi. Thanks for being here.
Not the sip. Is that what you call Mississippi? It seemed like that would just make sense to me.
I don't know. I don't know.
Let me know what you call Mississippi. Yeah. So we got DC representing. We got, Dallas
Texas.
representing. DFW, the DMV. Who else is out there?
Mississippi.
I know. Well, I know. That's what started me on that journey.
Okay.
Happy anniversary to the Aikens.
She said yes. That's it.
Just makes sense. Some things just fit. So
I guess you hit that. You get credit.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So say that again. Happy anniversary to
Tony and Kim Aiken.
Yes.
Yeah, wherever you all are, you love birds. Crazy people. Anyway, so but yeah, happy anniversary. I don't know which anniversary this is for them, so we'll have to find out. But hey, hopefully y'all had an amazing anniversary.
Yeah.
What else? Who else? What else? Anybody else need to shout out?
I don't think there's anybody else to shout out, but we should talk about this weekend.
Yeah. Oh man, this weekend was it was pretty incredible. We had the Unity Men's Conference here in Augusta, Georgia. That's our fourth one since 2019, and really, Unity is really about creating space for relationship to happen. Basically, there's a lot of things to fix in our communities. We know that. We always talk about the division and all that.
In our country.
Well, sure, yeah. When I say our community, I mean all the collective communities out there, right? But when it boils down to it, oftentimes we will attack a problem, right? We'll get to work on the problem before we build relationship. And if you do that, then what you run into are people's agendas, right? What you run into are their affiliations and all that. And so what it requires is relationship. And you can argue that point, but I can tell you what, if you do the upfront work of building relationship, then change will come. Change will follow, right? Because all of a sudden now I care about what you care about because I know you. You're a person. You're a human. I see you. Yeah. Right? I care about your family. I care about what's going on with you. And if that happens, I'm listening, right? So that's really the premise of Unity. And as I think about it, I didn't do this intentionally tonight, but I'm wearing my Harvard shirt, and I did adaptive leadership there at Harvard.
Yep.
And I saw some miraculous things happen in a short span of time between people who shouldn't be able to get along, people who should be battling and fighting and everything. And particularly in that particular class, interestingly enough, as we look at what's going on right now, There was a young lady from Gaza, young lady from she was from Gaza, and the other one was from
Palestine.
Jerusalem.
Oh,
yeah, and so there were some moments there, but I saw two people who, over the course of just a few days, had created a relationship, and it created the ability to have a conversation that was otherwise impossible, and all the factions that were pushing on them were not present. Yes. Right? So there was just two individuals talking. And so with unity, I guess that's what we're creating, right? And so it's just really powerful. And in a very short period of time, people are able to create these relationships that endure. There are people who came to that first breakfast in 2019 who still are growing their relationship, and their families know each other, and they're meeting and they're praying together, and they're talking about things they otherwise wouldn't talk about together. Like that talking wouldn't be possible without the relationship. Yeah. So that's what I mean, go all on that road, but that's what unity is all about. And
so the movement is Unity 706, and we'd love for you to follow that page. And if you have events that are coming up, you can actually post them on that page. It's an open page, open to the public. And I think, you're exactly right. You did an amazing job being kind of obedient to God's call on your life to find a way to really foster and cultivate relationships among men, starting with the men, and then hopefully, starting with the men and then their relationships with each other and with their women and their families. And so you start with the man, you move to the marriage, and then you affect the family, and then ultimately the community, and then the world. So hashtag or at Unity 706, which probably is soon to be Unity, I don't know, call it 301, Unity 803, Unity 757. I don't know. Drop in your area code. Yeah. Hey, Deborah Ford, thanks for joining us.
And we do have domains for Unity East, West, South, Central. I mean, it's just kind of thinking ahead. I mean, I think that the model, it works no matter where. It's just a matter of just listening to the Holy Spirit. If it's time, it's time. And so I really listen, y'all. I'm a reluctant Christian. It's like I don't want to do it. It's like half the time I'm like, nah, God, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Right. But I can't sleep at night if I don't do those things that He drops in. So this is just one of those things. And so but it was good though. So thanks if anybody who is there is on tonight, or any of our board members or volunteers, thank you so much. Just incredible. I was just reading through some of the feedback, and just incredible as always. So appreciate y'all.
Yeah, but what I particularly like about that is that what you shared, whether it's the principles or the approach, the whole idea that relationship is the basis for building community, but relationship is the basis for healing, is the basis for change. And so when you can focus on or intentionally do things to create relationships and then mend them, right? And so, or mold them or integrate them or whatever. So there's a relationship. So two people, not knowing each other, and then they come together, that creates a relationship. But then when they bond over different things, that just takes it a level deeper. So it's not just, hey, let's come in and do the obligatory handshake or one arm hug. It's a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah. So Wendy was our photographer, our official, because, we ran out of money, whatever. And so she was like, I'll do it. I'm like, no way. I wasn't going to ask, because it's a pretty long day. But you saw it, right? Like there are people who walked into that room, and the hugs that you saw, like first there were some reunion hugs at the beginning. Yes. But then there were like some new brother hugs at the end. Yeah. Right? Like real, like legit tears, whole 9 yards, right? So it was really, really good. But I think to your point, relationships, like one-on-one relationship heals societal wounds, right? Society can't heal itself, right? It's too high a level of a thing. Like that healing happens at the individual heart level. Yeah. Right. And so that's really what we're trying to do. Yeah. At scale.
at scale. But what you described is essentially what we're doing here as well, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can consider unity within marriage, and you know, two different people that come together that, as you talked about those external forces or those things, I forgot your specific words, but you were saying that those two people that came together at Harvard didn't have the outside factions that were influencing them or pressuring them. So they were able to, in real time, come together and have conversations that would have been impossible before.
Yes.
And I think that's the same in a marriage. You know, when two people come together, one of the things about our marriage was when we first got married, within a few weeks, we were across the country. I mean, across the world. Literally, we went to Korea. And in Korea, we had no family. There was no family there. There were no friends there. So we were without the direct influence or pressure or expectations of the people that came with us to the marriage. I was just talking about recently how when you marry somebody, you're marrying everybody in that family. It's not just the person. It's their history, their past, their family members, and everything that has influenced them in their lives. Yeah. And so, you know, like many military couples, you may find yourself, and maybe not just military couples, but you may get married and then move away. And then you find yourselves by yourselves. And one or two things will happen. You will either grow closer and deeper and form this bond that otherwise is not possible when other people are around, or you will struggle because you haven't had to do anything without that support or influence or direct input from the people around you. And so the hope, though, and as the word guides us, the hope is that when you find that good thing, when two people come together, when you get married, that is your new family. That's the person that you are meant to live life with forever. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. We've been talking about parasites, those things that could be secretly sucking the life out of your marriage. And interestingly, the same thing that can bring you together, support you, and help you grow is the same thing that in some ways can have an insidious effect of just bit by bit impacting your relationship. So tonight we're talking about what?
Listen, y'all, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. We're talking about family and friends, all right? Now, I want y'all to just simmer, all right? Everybody just simmer because, you know, we talk about parasites and when you talk about insidious and all that, and that can be a bit much to take in as it pertains to your family because we love our families, right? And so I just need everybody to take a breath. Calm down. All right. Let me know if you're calm before we step into this. Just put in the chat, hey, I'm calm. I'm good. Put that in the chat. Put something. I'm calm. I'm good. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're okay before we go in here, because I think that, you know, for the folks for whom this is relevant, I think it's really relevant, really important, critical to talk about. And, you know, who knows? This might be just, you know, we might be up here for like 5 more minutes. Who knows? Or somebody might come. They might come beating down the door with the pitchforks and the torches and everything. And be like,
hopefully not. Okay, good. Right. Thanks, Deborah.
All right.
She says she's good.
Good. Deborah's good. So, but really important to talk about because sometimes the people that we love most sometimes can be a little bit problematic, right? In terms of your marriage. And so I think it's just important to really kind of say it out loud. And if you've ever experienced that, then you know it's a real thing, right? So thank you, Latasha. Thank you, Lynn Lou. Dana Jones.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Dana, we're always glad when you drop in. Yeah, I mean, I think that this whole idea of family and friends potentially being something that can suck the life out of your marriage, for like you said, for some people that's a hard pill to swallow, and for others it's like, yes, finally, I couldn't wait for y'all to get to this one.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about what that looks like, because I think there's a couple of ways it happens. for example, and I don't know if I want to start on the heavy-headed end of things or on the lighter side of things.
Well, let's start with friends. How about that?
Let's start with friends.
And then go to family.
Okay.
Or is that what you meant?
Well, it's more well, let's just talk about it. We'll work through it. But let's talk about friends because I think friends sometimes, oftentimes, you have people who are in your life, and generally the people I'm talking about right now are going to be those friends that existed before the marriage. Even though the ones you pick up along the way together, they can kind of latch on too, right? But it don't even matter if they're old friends, new friends, whatever. Some people though, they tend to be, well, actually this is going to be an old friend thing. They tend to be a bit of a burden sometimes because they talk too dang much about all the wrong stuff.
Hey, Robert Harrell, thanks for being
Robert
here.
Harrell.
Yeah, hopefully we hit what you were thinking, and if not, we want you to drop it in the chat so we can make sure we get it.
Drop it on there. But talk too much about the wrong stuff.
Friends.
Yeah. Right? So-called. Like, sometimes I think that it's important to, because like memories are great, right? Good times, all that stuff. It's cool to kind of reminisce and look at how far you've come and all that.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes that goes a bit too far. What do I mean?
I know what you mean.
What do I mean? You tell me.
Well, first, let me say hey to Zelda Jones and Rella Hicks. Because, we've kind of lived this, right? And it's funny because I think your friends think that they're being a little covert. And I think that they, even if we try to talk in code,
First of all, before you say anything else, we may have experienced this. But
I'm not
talking to y'all directly, even though y'all know who you are.
We have experienced this on both sides, but it's just kind of that, you get together with your friends and then all of a sudden, through the course of spending time together, somebody goes back to sometime in the past and it'll be like, yeah, remember, homecoming, 98 or whatever. And then, 98, 95. And it's like, okay. And so as soon as you say, remember when, and it was pre-marriage,
yeah,
you have to be careful because along with those memories also comes people. And so then there's the looks like, yeah, we had a good time. I remember you used to be, okay. And then, yeah, and remember that girl? Or I think you were dating so-and-so then.
Or really rarely, I guess names may come up.
But
even if names don't come up, it's like, oh, you remember, you're right. It's all that.
Yeah, Judy.
And I think it's important for us to, even if your spouse is a good sport about
Becky.
that, or listen now,
Trina.
Anyway, what are you about to sing "Float On"?
No, go ahead.
So I think it's important to consider what it's like to be on the other side of that conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. Because even if they're cool and they act cool, even if they say it's cool, I don't know if it's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because let me tell you, I went to a homecoming game at a school that I didn't go to, and I went to a class reunion with people that I didn't go to school with. And just going into that space, it revealed to me and it made me more aware that, hey, these people knew my husband before he was my husband. And so it's almost like there's a pause in time, like they put a bookmark is it a bookmark? It's a placeholder. And so they keep you where they left you. And so when you reconnect or you start to reminisce, all of those things come flooding in. So I said, when we first got married, we were away from everybody. So there were no influences. There were no memories. There was no, remember that time.
Yeah.
But willingly going into those spaces, I didn't really know what I was getting into until I got there.
Yeah. And that actually caused me to think too. Okay. That actually causes me to think as well.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Ty.
Congratulations. Okay. So
Ty,
small commercial while you process what you're thinking.
Okay,
Congratulations to you on having a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Is something about getting the life that you deserve.
Yeah, y'all.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I think she might be
Drop
trending.
it in the chat.
If you drop link in the chat, Ty. But if you put in Ty R. Graham in Amazon, it'll like auto populate. Yes. That means you got some momentum, y'all.
Yeah, we're so proud of you. Yeah. Thank you for doing that, and we're excited for all your success.
Yeah, yeah. So, my thoughts all the way gone now. It's all the way gone. It's like it's gone. What are we talking about?
I was talking about going into that space that was not my space and being around those people that knew you before I knew you.
Yeah. So here's a little side note, not necessarily where we're going tonight, but for everyone who has decided that you want to somehow maintain relationships or even like keep pictures or whatever from past relationships, people you knew before you knew your spouse, I would ask you to reconsider.
Burn those things.
Because the truth is, once you've crossed certain lines, a friendship is not a friendship in that way anymore. Right. And so I think it's important because one thing, and maybe I'm overly sensitive, but I'm really sensitive to people who knew me before Wendy did and what they know about me and what they knew. I think that can be problematic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
and I'll say thanks, Ty, for dropping that in there. Y'all need to check that out. And so, this whole idea of friends, right? So then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can meet new family, I can meet different people, but then, when I meet women that knew him, it's always like friend or friend.
Right. And that was always the question. Except you didn't ask it quite that way, but it was like, that was the question, right?
Y'all know what I asked.
And so, and I think it's a fair question to ask because all quote unquote friendships are not built equally, right? And that's why this idea, oftentimes you hear people doing marriage counseling and speaking to married couples and talking about building those relationships together, which I think is an important thing.
Yeah. And I know a lot of us have a desire to merge our worlds, right? And in our minds and in our hearts, we see like this perfect merging of what happened before, what's happening now, going together forward in the future. And in some cases that can happen, but I like that you were saying being sensitive to it, right? And really creating the space so that your spouse can tell you if they're uncomfortable or if they don't like something or if somebody made them feel some kind of way. And so the point here about those friends is not necessarily the past relationships, but it's about the present impact, right? And the thing about friends is you love them, they loved you, and all of that. They're going to tell you what they think. They're going to tell you what they think about who you chose. They're going to tell you who they thought you should have chose. And they have memories that they don't let go of. So while you were dating, if you said something to your friends about your spouse, they will never forget. And those are the things that will come up and they will remind you. And those are the things that they use to say, yeah, but remember when you first met her, blank, blank, or when you first met him, it was this or it was that. And I thought that was a red flag then. Your friends are trying to love on you, but they're doing it in a way that is actually not supporting or loving or giving life to your marriage.
So some of my friends, my current friends know, some, by way of instruction, some by way of instinct, but they know like there's only all the conversations. If they're going to be conversations about my marriage, it's one directional. That is, generally it's going to be, Mike, you tripping, like get back in there, right? And so it's there is no talk about what she did and what you're gonna do to get out or what you're gonna like do. I can't imagine that just ever happening, right? But I guess what I'm saying is all my friends understand that there's only one way that this marriage goes. There's only one way that this ends, and everybody is conspiring to create the space for that to happen. So don't bring no foolishness into the space, right? And sometimes though, just by way of just normal conversation, people can bring foolishness in, and they don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
But I think the barometer, and you alluded to it, the barometer is this. If your spouse walks out of that exchange feeling uncomfortable, our first reaction has to be, what is it that made you feel uncomfortable? And to go after that thing versus what I think oftentimes will be the case, defense.
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Nah, they was just like, I think our first instinct, our first reaction has to be to protect the space that your spouse steps into.
So that's good. You should probably type that in and drop that in. Protect the space that your spouse steps into. And I mean, you said that all of your friends, your current friends, know, and there is only one focus and going forward. But how did that happen?
I mean, part of it was me saying, I think we actually had a real conversation. I don't know if any of them going to be on tonight, but there was a real conversation. Like, look, somebody comes looking for me, for example. Not only do we not talk about where I am, what I'm doing, or whatever, I don't even want to know that anybody came looking for me.
That's good.
Right.
And so my point is that you took action. There was intentional action to let them know, and then to kind of hold them to it. Yep. Right.
Yeah. And anybody who couldn't hold to that, they just kind of peeled off the circle. I mean, I went peel, not, but yeah. They gone, right? Yes. Because I mean, friendships are important, but there's nothing more important than this relationship I have right here. Nothing. Mark chapter 10, verse 7 says, "But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate."
And I think you could put in, let not friends separate. Since we're talking about friends, let not family separate. Let not man or anyone separate.
Yeah.
Just, adding those little notes in there. Because I think somebody had shared with me a long time ago, that if you're having problems with your husband or wife, you need to resist the urge to bring in and tell other people about it, right? To confide in someone else about those problems. And, because the intention is pure, but how that resurfaces, because people have long memories, how that may resurface or how that then affects the relationship between that person and your spouse, you can't know at the time. And so it either will breed opportunity when things are bad, or it can breed a growing resentment, right? Because they know too much.
Yeah, so this is the kind of friends you need, and because some people say nobody knows anything about what's going on in your marriage. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. I think that everybody needs someone that you can trust, like someone who loves you, that loves your spouse, that is only going to give you good, godly wisdom and is going to check you when you're wrong. And you probably going to be the one getting checked more so than not, right?
So say that again, because a lot of people operate under that, nobody needs to be in our business. Whatever happens in this house stays in this house, keep it close, which can in some cases be kind of isolating. And, if you are enforcing that thing to the letter,
right,
that's not necessarily what we're saying.
So here's the distinction, I think, right? You don't just run around and talk about everything that's going on in your house, every little argument you have, everything, whatever. But sometimes people get into some serious trouble, or they're having some serious issue, like maybe in your own heart, you're having some problem, and you're finding it difficult to get past that. Maybe you're not showing up where you should in your marriage. Maybe you're irritated. Maybe you're short. Maybe you're something. Maybe you're looking out. Maybe how you eye on somebody, or maybe somebody's talking in your ear, or whatever. You need somebody you can say, if you're a man, you need to have a brother in your life. Hey man, this is what's happening right now, right? That person, and I think here's the barometer of the friend that you need.
Okay.
right? The friend that you need needs to be somebody who knows Christ. It needs someone who can hear what you're saying and understanding all your humanity and all of that, and still look at you and say, yeah, but right, I get you, yeah, we all been there, etc. But what does the word of God say? Like, what should you be doing right now? What are you not doing that you should be doing? How, you know what I mean? Like, how is Christ looking at this? And if you want to be what you said you want to be, like, how do you do that right now? And that person should be giving you some perspective and some understanding and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, no matter what you're upset about, and we're almost going off into another direction, but whatever, no matter what you're upset about, whatever the solution is going to lie somewhere right here between you and God, right? You and the Holy Spirit and your heart and your ability to see that other person with the grace that God sees you.
Yeah, I think that's good. Hey, Nick Morant.
What's up? 757 is represented.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And, you were talking about it, unless you're in an abusive situation, the friend that you're confiding in, if they say, yeah, girl, you're right, and he's wrong, you come over here. That's not the one. You need the one that says, no, you can't come over here. You married that man. Stay in there.
Here's a tough pill to swallow.
Get back in there.
Here's a tough pill. It's an inside thing, y'all. Here's a tough pill to swallow. You probably going to be wrong most of the time. Get that settle in. Most of the time, you're probably going to be wrong. And even if you're not wrong, this idea of forgiveness is not, it's not conditional, actually. The word instructs us to forgive as we have been forgiven, to forgive or we won't be forgiven. So our ability to forgive, yeah, Pastor Shepherd, exactly. Our ability to forgive then is not a matter of that person coming to us and groveling for it. It's not a matter of even our desire to do it, even though we should want to do it. How on earth can I take this gift that is priceless and then not want to somehow give a priceless gift? You stingy, y'all. We stingy. That's what. Well, I mean, anyway. So, but let's get back on track a little bit, right?
So, I mean, essentially what we're creating or trying to create for you is a picture of how something that you probably view as an additive, right? A positive thing, a support structure, all of those things could also be slowly eating away at versus building up your marriage. Right. And having some discernment, having that clarity, being able to see, identify, and then neutralize those things is important. And so how do you do that? Well, Mike has kind of been dropping some facts in here, some nuggets in here in terms of selection, right? How you choose the people that should remain in your life. You know them better than most people. They know you as well as you allow them to know you. And so this idea of, is this good? Are you good for us? You might have been good for me, but are you good for us? And if you're not good for us, then you might have to go.
You might have to go. You might have to scale back, right? Less exposure, less time, because what I think it is problematic to expect our spouse to somehow fit into a thing that doesn't quite feel right. And how do you know? You probably just need to either ask, or a lot of times we've heard what they have to say. We're like, that's just such and such, and right. So now we're explaining it away and we're defending somebody else. What's that? So anyway, but we don't have a whole lot of time. So that's friends.
Well, hold on. One more thing on friends before we get to family. We get asked this question a lot, and we've talked about it a few times, but this whole idea of friends of the opposite sex. Yeah. And should you be able, are you allowed to have friends of the opposite sex when you're married?
You trying to have the people go crazy tonight. Go ahead.
I'm not.
Now, go ahead.
I'm just dropping that in because those, even that question. So I want to hear from you guys first, and then, maybe we'll join in. But those of you that are here, answer that question. Should you have friends of the opposite sex when you're married? So, meaning wives, should you have male friends, and husbands, should you have female friends that are outside of your marriage, obviously. So answer that, yes or no. That's all you need to drop in the chat. Yes or no.
I feel like there's be a whole lot of explaining going on.
I don't know. Yes or no.
Yeah.
And so we'll give you a second or two to think about that question, and let us know what you think. And we might tell you at some point what we think. But, this whole idea of, the people that made us into who we are, and the people that helped us grow, and all of these important people along our lifespans.
Right, and they've been there for the journey, there. Right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times there's this loyalty that people feel, or a legit connection to other people, right?
Or it's so much easier to talk to them.
Oh, so I'm glad you said that.
Hey, Carolyn Bird.
Carolyn Bird, what's up? So. Yeah, it's I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, so much easier to talk to them.
Because
okay. Thanks, Deborah.
Where your energy goes is really important.
Thanks, Robert.
And I'm talking about, the conversations you have, the things you share, the hopes you have, the struggles you're having, or whatever. Where you apply that energy is really important, because you will find, let's say you're one to talk on the car on the way home, and so you hop on the phone with a friend of yours, and you're going through a whole thing, and you just get all that out. There's a release, right? And just talking about what's happening. Then you get home, walk in the door, spouse says, "Hey, how you doing? How's your day?" You're like, "I'm good, all right, I'm all right." Why? Because you're spent. You've kind of put it out there, and you've kind of taken the pressure valve off. But what if our spouse is supposed to be part of that process, like of growing together and knowing one another and sharing life together? So when you begin to share life at a deep level in a lot of different directions, you are taking some energy away from the person that you're sharing life with. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So,
and I mean, it brings up, I'm sure you've heard, or people are having conversations. They're talking about something everybody's laughing and everything, but your spouse may be outside of it because they weren't there, or they're not familiar, and they might make a comment or something. Don't be the one that says, you weren't there. You don't really know what we're talking about, and just keep going. Because the thing is, if they weren't there and they don't know what you're talking about, and they can't be part of the conversation, then you don't need to be having that conversation.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's woo-wee. That feels just awkward, saying, just listening to the scenario.
Because it happens. It's like, blah, blah, blah. Remember when we went to such and such, to the Essence Jazz Festival?
But be, okay, I'm going to say this and I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
Be profoundly careful when you run into that person. It's just really nice talking to you. I enjoy talking to you. If that person is not your spouse and they're of the opposite sex, be profoundly careful with that.
Yes.
That is a potentially a situation that is endangering your marriage and can quickly go from parasite to absolutely killing your marriage.
That's good. So, friends, but along the same lines, it's the same thing. Your family, if you have siblings, you grew up together, your family truly knows you better than anyone else. And your family has opinions, they have feelings, and they form relationships with the people that you form relationships with. So the history is sometimes where family can overstep their bounds in terms of what your current relationship is. And so even sometimes in some situations, the family is the one that's like behind the scenes dropping little seeds in of doubt or expectation, or I thought you were going to marry, or fill in the blank.
Right. Or I talked to such and such, and this is how such and such is doing. Listen, tell your family to stop bringing you all that business from wherever. Who they have relationships with is their business. Right. But tell them to stop bringing it to you.
Yeah, and they still ask about you.
Right. All that, right? No updates. No updates. And sometimes it can be that. It can be just little things, little opinions about maybe looks or about maybe cooking, or about maybe how you raise the kids, or like, okay, I got to rip the Band-Aid off again. I might be talking about some of y'all mamas. I'm just saying, I'm not talking about your mama. Don't fight me. I'm just saying, I don't want no trouble.
Yeah.
But the word is clear. A man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And I know, listen, I love my mama, love my grandma, but nothing can come between the relationship I have with my wife, right? But oftentimes, because, we want to respect and we want to honor, but respecting and honoring does not mean that they get to encroach.
Yes, allowing them to meddle.
You don't get to meddle. Like, frankly, and this is tough, but I believe that this is sound. Like, sometimes it's not our parents or other family members who are senior to us to encroach and to offer anything unsolicited. Because sometimes, obviously, a lot of people will say, "Hey, what about this, that, and whatever?" But some will actually go too far, and they will say little things to your spouse, right? Maybe when you're around, maybe when you're not around,
yeah.
And then what will often happen is we'll just kind of write it off, like whatever. And so we just got to endure that, because honor your mother and your father, and your days be long. Yeah, that's true, but because of what God has ordained in marriage, your mother and father and everybody in that family has to honor your marriage.
Oh, say that again.
I'll abbreviate and say everybody in your family must honor your marriage, right? Because this thing ordained by God. And interestingly enough, this marriage, it is this little capsule, this example of how we are to love and to forgive and to somehow live together as two different people, coming together with all these different backgrounds and opinions and expectations, and somehow we come together in love and we're able to work it out. Well, that's an example of the relationship between Jesus Christ and his church.
Yes.
Right? And so we have all these instructions about what to do. And so I think it's important, though, that to realize, and if this is you probably know it. And if your spouse has told you haven't accepted it, it might be time to consider, how do I protect my spouse from my own family? And a lot of times the way you do that is the same way I said it with my friends is the same way I said it with my family.
So drop that one in there too. How do I protect my spouse from my own family? Christine Rodriguez, thanks for joining us. Here's the thing about protecting your spouse from your family, right? Because for some people, that's a foreign concept. It's like, why would I need to protect my spouse from my family? Once you get married, we're all family, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes your family is, they love you. They want the best for you. Sometimes they want somebody else for you. And you know what? It doesn't matter.
So
it doesn't matter. We're talking to you as the married couples who are joining us, or future married couples who are joining us, but you might be the family member. So, you might be the one that is imposing your opinions and your will on other people's relationships. As parents, we tend to send a whole lot of signals about who we would choose, who we want our children to date, who we want our children to marry. And the truth is...
Wait a minute. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You talking about me?
No.
Are you talking about me?
I'm not talking about you, but...
I got expectations.
Yeah.
So,
Set family boundaries. Thank you for
yep.
that, Pastor Shepherd. And thank you all. I mean, we got some mixed responses. We got a nope, a no, a yes, only if your spouse is included in everything.
That was
yes,
the last
but not
question.
best friends. I know. I'm letting y'all know we saw y'all. Thank y'all for doing that. But yeah.
And so I put the answer to the question, how to protect my spouse from my own family.
Yeah.
I will combine Pastor Shepherd's and mine. Like,
Okay.
prioritize your marriage over all other relationships and set family boundaries.
Good.
Now, for a lot of you, that's tough. Like, what? But I'm here to tell you this: if your marriage is healthy and stable and trusting and all those things, right? If you are looking out for each other and protecting one another, your marriage can withstand the pressure from all those relationships. Not even a question. However, if you're prioritizing other relationships and trying to keep those strong at the expense of your marriage will fold under that pressure. I mean, that's all. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough thing to hear for some of y'all.
That's one
it's
of those.
Tough.
Say that again, because just in case somebody missed that.
The whole thing, because they might have to get that on the replay.
Okay. But it's the whole. I mean, you said it before about what can sustain your marriage and what your marriage can sustain. But in this case, you're talking about it from a slightly different perspective.
Well, but I think it's the same perspective. It is. There's all these other things around us, right? But if your marriage is healthy and is solid and is stable, and you are forsaking all others, right, for one another, and you're pouring into that, then your marriage, the marriage is like a foundation. There's a reason why it's a foundation for our community, our society, for our world, because it can withstand a lot when it's strong.
Yes.
Right. But if you pour the energy outside of the marriage, if other relationships are more important and you're more concerned about preserving those relationships, or at least appeasing other people, let's put it that way. If you're concerned about appeasing other people and not making other people uncomfortable at the expense of your marriage, then your marriage will fold under that pressure. Right?
Yeah. And I think that's really important and necessary to say. But it's one of those things that I think that you have to kind of let marinate a little bit, because, when we get into generational things and cultural things, right? I mean, like, I could ask you the question, if you're driving a car and it's husband and wife are in the car, the husband's driving, and you go to pick up your mother to go somewhere, does your mother get in the front seat and your wife gets in the back, or does your mother go in the back seat? Just a question.
I mean, what's the premise? I mean, what are you saying?
I'm just saying. I mean, little things about how we're raised and how we operate and all those things, right? Yep. So just think about it. That's one question, right?
But I think, I don't want to leave that there, because I don't know what the suggestion is. I don't know that, because I don't know. I think it's more about what's happening in that car. What's the conversation that's happening, right? And why, so I just want to, I don't want y'all to get all, oh man, my mama always I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up. So let me. So my point is this, right? Because there's a whole thing about honoring our elders and doing these other things, right? Who do you open the door for first? Who are you talking to first? Who do you go to first? All those things. Thanks, Rella. She's saying mama is in the back. That's funny. Yes. Those types of things can enter in. If who do you hug first? Who do you kiss first? If you are going to your mother and then to your wife, or going to your father and then to your husband, you are communicating something without probably really realizing or thinking about the fact that you're communicating kind of a preference and a reverence that, if articulated and is clear and understood, can be okay. But if it's not, it can also be sending the wrong message. And so that's why I just kind of threw something easy, like who sits in the front and who sits in the back. My point, though, is it's the same way as we have conversations, or when we have problems, or when things come up, who do you go to first? Yeah,
right, exactly. So this idea, there's a bit of biblical support for this idea of your marriage being able to withstand something if it is strong. I give you, because this is not often considered a marriage verse, but I don't know why it's not. Because this to me is the definition of marriage. Well, it's a strong word. Y'all relax. Maybe not definitely. Anyway, so Ecclesiastes 4. All right, chapter 4, verse 9 through 12 says this. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. Mm-hmm. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Mm-hmm. You, your spouse, Holy Spirit, can withstand a lot.
Yes.
And that verse 12, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. I'm like, particularly if you got to ride or die. Anyway, yeah, but
it's a Bonnie and Clyde thing.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of times it can be difficult to change the paradigm and to change the dynamics of these relationships that have existed for so long. But I think a lot of times what has happened is sometimes you may have to be the one in your friendship circle, in your family, to intentionally shift the paradigm, to say, hey, this is what it's going to be because this is what it's supposed to be. This is what God is calling us to do. And if we can do this, then not only are we going to be all right, everybody's going to be all right. Right. Mm-hmm. And this is not about, like, there are seasons of life, particularly for us in the sandwich generation, where there are times where you have to go and do what you need to do. And as a family, you come around and you support your parents and grandparents and everything because they need you in that way. Yes. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about the things that people bring into your marriage that are not helpful. And sometimes if you've been in that situation, our family can bring things in that are just not helpful. And and it can be a continuation of patterns that have played out for decades. And so I think for everybody listening, everybody who will ever see this, it's okay for you to be the one to break the pattern and to establish a new paradigm. One that, when you do it right, and doing it right, I mean, that's, that can be, what is that, right? But if there's this basic idea that this marriage is the most important relationship in the family unit, then the things that flow out of that will impact your family for generations. Period, point blank, not even a question.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a good point, because what you may have witnessed or seen with your own parents or your aunts and uncles or grandparents may have been something different. But here's an opportunity when we bring up these topics, it's conversation starters. It might be that what you and your spouse need to have this week is a good conversation about, do we need to set boundaries? Is there something about your friends or family that makes me uncomfortable, or about my friends and family that makes you uncomfortable? Those types of things, because sometimes we just go along and we make assumptions, right? Well, you knew who my family was when you met me. No, I knew who they were. I didn't know what they were capable of. You're correct, right? You knew my friends, they've been my friends my whole life. That is true. But who they are to you now probably is not, it just doesn't look the same. And so we're not talking about getting married and then isolating and cutting everybody off. Like, everybody has to go. Friends, family, there's nobody else. No, that's not biblical, and that's not what we're sharing with you. But what we are talking about is being acutely aware of the things that may be slowly eating away versus building up. If you have a family and a group of friends that is really positively with, good intentions, with, godly wisdom, if they're pouring in and they're trying to help you along, and they are being family and friends and loving both of you, then you are truly blessed. Because it seems like there might be always one, is that one that can just set things on fire. The idea is that when you talk about those things, when you're open with each other, when you have that good communication together, then it doesn't matter who pops up from 20 years ago, from 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter, because what you have developed and what you are fortifying is a bond that cannot be broken.
Yeah. So I think no matter who's in your circle, they should be pointing you back to God and back to each other all the time. And if it's anything other than that, I mean, they're a problem.
Hey,
right?
Gerald Wilson.
So yeah, and that's just kind of when you're going through, but just in the day to day, if an environment is being created that you or your spouse feel uncomfortable in because of what the people are pouring into that environment, then it's time for you all to have a conversation about what you need to do about that. Is it about pulling away from the environment and the people? Is it about having a conversation about appropriate boundaries? Is it about putting people, hear this in the way, putting people in their place? I don't mean like the way that y'all be putting people in their place, or maybe it is, right? But like there are just some things that are appropriate and okay, and other things that are not. And you have to be willing to care enough for the safety and the well-being and the comfort of your spouse to help to create that space, right? And so sometimes that requires some conversation or some action.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't require, these hands. But
well, I don't know. But if you're up for a real challenge, how about you sit down and you write out who all your friends are and you go through it together?
Are we going to do that?
Nope.
My list is pretty.
We could. I mean, my list is short.
I have a pretty short list.
Yes.
I got like, you have a short list.
Yeah, maybe we could, but writing down, who they are and then having a conversation about it. It's not a do they stay or do they go, but it's like, how good are they for us? That's the question. So, how good are they for us?
And what tier friend are we? Because when I think about it, I'm like, I don't have many friends, but then I started I'm thinking of names, and it depends.
You have more friends than I do.
Like, what kind of, anyway. So, but opposite sex friends, though.
All friends.
Yeah. All friends? That's a lot of friends.
For you.
Are you serious?
Wow.
So either A, like maybe you're being serious and everything, but all those people who thought you were Wendy's friend, sorry. Apparently you might have got it wrong. I don't know. Anyway, we got to get out of here.
Yes. So we appreciate you guys. And, so we've been talking about parasites for the last several weeks, but the whole idea is, we want to identify the things that could potentially take your marriage off course, because it's hard enough just with just the two of us. But when we identify that there are other forces or other things or other people that could potentially be adding to the challenges of it, then perhaps we need to take inventory and decide what we really need going forward. And so we believe that everything that you need, you already have. Yeah. And everything that you need is really about your covenant, right? So if you had no one else and it was just you, your spouse, your husband or wife, and the Lord, that's all you need.
Look, I told Wendy and I told a lot of people, frankly, like if we were just on the island by ourselves, that's it, us and a barbecue pit or something, I'm good, right? So don't play with me. Anyway, we're gonna get ready to get out of here, but I think it's important to first and foremost take care of this marriage that you have, right? And everything else will be taken care of. All right. So we're gonna pray.
Yep.
All right. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight just thanking you for being God. Thank you for being the center of our lives, God. And we ask that you bless us, bless every marriage represented here, every home, God. Help us to cleave together, God, to become one flesh and in everything that means, to prioritize the things and the people that are important, God, and to remove the things that might not be. But ultimately, God, it's all for one purpose, for us to grow closer to you. And we believe if we do that, then if we seek you first, then all other things will be added to us, as your word says. So we pray that for everyone here. We pray for every family, every home, every marriage. We'll be sure to give you all the honor, the glory, and praise. We thank you and love you. We pray these and all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Typically,
that's it.
You got like a little something.
If you think that we've shared something that will bless someone, or you know somebody who needs to hear this, make sure you tag them and drag them in, take them to the page. You know, Facebook is deleting things, videos very quickly. So if you want to catch any of our old videos, make sure you either jump on YouTube or go in there and take a look at them. Maybe you should binge watch The Marriage Shop this weekend.
Oh, you can
just
do
saying.
that for like the whole weekend plus.
Yes.
And so we talked about ambitions. We talked about distractions. We talked about friends and family tonight. We might give y'all a break next week.
Yeah, we'll see. So we appreciate you, and we will see you guys next Monday at 7. And so until next week, have a blessed week, and we'll see you soon.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood, love, yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this, got me all up in my feelings. Over the feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you, 'cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest, so glad you're mine, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Whoa. Promise I'ma be around, I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe, yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you, yeah. And I know they see it, girl, you're my queen, and beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear, and I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, babe, but I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah, for a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah, for a lifetime, oh, for a lifetime, yeah.